I wasn't expecting to be here in 2023 talking about an all-new female-only racing series. However, here we are. And the main thing is that we want this one to work out because the clock is really ticking on this 2030 goal of having a full-time female Formula One driver. And let's be honest, there's a lot more progress that is going to have to happen in between now and then if that goal is to be met. The good news is that the F1 Academy season has kicked off. Testing is happening right now as we speak. As I film this video in Barcelona, testing is happening, and that's leading up to the first race, which is going to happen in Spielberg, Austria, and that's at the very end of April from the 28th to the 29th. So let's get into it. What is the F1 Academy? Hello, fellow F1 fans. As you know, we are in this awful newly termed spring break, F1 spring break, which essentially is the 4-week gap between Azerbaijan and Australia, or rather switch those around, you know what I mean. And because obviously the Chinese Grand Prix is not going ahead this year, and if you, like many of us, are sitting at home wondering what motorsport content is going to keep you going for the next couple of weeks, fear not, because today I am going to chat to you all about the F1 Academy. And I will say I'm feeling pretty optimistic about it, so let's get into it. First off, you might be thinking, oh, hang on a second, we had W Series, and you would be absolutely right about that. And it was supposed to be a route for female racing drivers to get into Formula One. Unfortunately, what you may not know is that in 2022, W Series ran into some pretty serious financial issues, and in October, they essentially announced that they were going to have to cancel the rest of their season and sort of stop racing until further notice. And that has become really possibly until never, because there has not been a single official statement made publicly since then about the future of W Series for 2023 or beyond. And there's been, even on social media, you know, on their platforms, like very limited activity, maybe a couple of throwback photos here and there just to keep the kind of timeline ticking over, but that's really all. And I think given the struggles that the W Series faced and the announcement now of this new female-only racing series, I think that in reality it's highly unlikely that the sport can sustain two female-only series at that level. And while W Series definitely wasn't perfect, and we had seen, to be fair, major dominance by one particular driver in the course of its short history, that driver being Jamie Chadwick, a lot of really great people worked at W Series and raced in W Series, and I would be really disappointed if those folks didn't, you know, if they just saw that opportunity disappear. So how does this new F1 Academy work? Back to more positive news. It essentially is, as I said, a female-only racing series, and it's been developed under the Formula One umbrella, and that is a very key differentiator between F1 Academy and the W Series. And the intention really is to create a more direct route to Formula One for female racing drivers from quite a young age. And there's 5 teams in total, each of which are going to race with 3 cars, 3 drivers in their roster. So a little bit different from the typical team setup that we're used to seeing with 2 drivers, 2 cars per team. And the season is going to consist of 21 races across 7 different race weekends. And it's going to come to its pinnacle with the last race of the season happening in Austin, Texas, of course, being a companion to the Formula One US Grand Prix, which is really huge. That's very, very important. I think W Series, even though it had its place as a support race for certainly 2022, this feels different. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that this has been developed under the Formula One umbrella itself. Now, 2023 is going to be a sort of bedding in year for the F1 Academy, because the expectation in 2024 is that they're going to step up to race exclusively alongside F1 weekends. So it's sort of like a test really this year. How well can we get things up and running? And I like the fact that that roadmap is laid out, because it gives everyone involved in the series a very clear set of goals and It also provides hope, honestly, and development plans for young drivers, which is massively important for them to feel like they have any sense of stability or really just a career path in what they're trying to do, because let's face it, it hasn't been done before. So you might be thinking, okay, am I going to even recognize any of the drivers in this new series? And really it depends on how much attention you've been paying to female participation in motorsport at that level. And if you've watched W Series, the good news is that you will definitely recognize some of the drivers that are competing in the F1 Academy. You've got Mira Marti, Abby Pulling, Marta Garcia, and Bianca Bustamante. They're all former W Series competitors, and you may be thinking, okay, what about Jamie Chadwick? You know, you told us that she was dominant in the W Series. Where has she gone now that that does not appear to be returning? Jamie Chadwick made the decision to move over to Indy NXT in the US, so she is now racing there under Andretti Autosport, which, as we all know, and as I've made a video on, which I will link up here for you, Andretti is trying to get into Formula One. They're meeting a lot of resistance. However, I think that potentially that alliance, or, you know, that sort of connection, let's say, with them for Jamie, I think could potentially be a very positive or a very negative thing, depending on how that bid for F1 goes. With that, for me, another really key point about the F1 Academy is who it's being led by, and that is Susie Wolff. Let's just take a minute for Susie Wolff, because she's the only woman who has been deep in the inner workings of a Formula One team from a driver perspective at that level within Williams, obviously, in recent years. And that means that she genuinely has a unique set of insights and experiences. Let's not forget, she's also been a team principal and then a CEO at Venturi Racing in Formula E. And she's also been a co-founder of Dare to Be Different since 2016. So, you know, that organization's sole mission is to encourage school-age girls to take part in motorsport, not necessarily just as drivers, kind of introducing them to STEM and other careers that are involved too. However, I just don't think there's anyone else who is better placed to lead the F1 Academy. And I think the relationships that she has in Formula One are going to be extremely, extremely important. And I'll just say, when I say relationships, I mean the ones she has built herself apart from anyone else, and the relationships that she has built on her own merit and on her own ability. I think that's a very important point to make. We've seen some trolls, as always, on Twitter and YouTube, you know, talking about her surname and what that means. I don't pay attention to any of that. This woman has proved her worth in motorsport, and I think that honestly, I'd be shocked if she doesn't kill it in this role. Thank you, as always, for tuning into my channel, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed this quick roundup of the F1 Academy, which, as I said, is just launching this week with their testing in Barcelona. You know that I love to chop it up in the comments, so please drop a comment down below and tell me what you think of the F1 Academy. You know, do you think that we really are creating a legitimate route for a female driver to get into a Formula One seat full-time by 2030? Do you think it's ultimately going to suffer the same fate as the W Series, potentially, on the other hand? I look forward to hearing what you have to say, but until then, take care and enjoy your racing.